All right, you're on, K-Dog.
How's it going?
Good.
Happy Monday.
Yeah, you came in here with ferv, so I'm a verve or ferv. It's fervorous or vervorous. Either one works.
Okay. Did you watch the Super Bowl last night?
Dude, I can't talk about Super Bowl anymore. Do you have something new to add?
It's a general consensus, and the Super Bowl really has put me in over my limit. I think anybody that has ever been a parent of little kids tend to bicker and fight back and forth sometimes, and it'll get to the point where you're like, enough. Shut up. Everybody shut up. Go to your rooms. I'm not listening to the bickering anymore. And when it comes to the whole people fighting over politics and people constantly sharing their opinions and fighting online, the Super Bowl just brought it to a head. To where last night and this morning, I am like, we can't have anything, can we? We can't do anything together as a group, as an American people, as a species in the world. We can't have anything anymore that doesn't become a fight. It's so freaking annoying. And I'm at the point where I want to look at humans in general and go, everybody shut up. You're all assholes. Both of you go to your rooms. Not hearing it anymore. And it was just, it peaked. It peaked with the Super Bowl.
Anything specific that brought out this emotion?
Well, I found myself at one point, because I don't have ties to either team. I don't care who wins. I'm one of those people that we had talked before was mainly into commercials, and I was going to watch the commercials because they used to be funny. They're not that great. But there were a couple of commercials that my first reaction were, oh, that was nice. You know, there was a lot of there was one that, dealt with Christians and Jesus, and there was a Snoop Dogg commercial with Tom Brady about ending hate, and just saw it, and I was like, oh, that's nice. I see Super Bowls trying to bring some unity to us, I guess. First comment I see on Facebook, what woke commercials? And I'm like, here we go. And then everybody's either talking about the wokeness of the commercials, and then it's the halftime show. If anybody voiced their opinion about not liking the halftime show, what are you, racist? Really? And then the fighting just ensued from everything. Let's look at Taylor Swift. 1 year ago, Taylor Swift was freaking America's sweetheart. The NFL made money. Everybody was talking about her in a more so positive light. It was buzzing. And through no fault of her own, she gets shown on the Jumbotron one freaking time and got booed. Because we are so finicky and hypocritical and ridiculous as a species that the same people that were just talking about Taylor Swift and how amazing she is a year ago booed the sight of her. Now, yes, devil's advocate, you could say there are a couple of things behind that. I was even reading that Taylor used to be an Eagles fan and always was pro Philadelphia, but obviously she's with Travis Kelce, so she's there supporting the Chiefs, and a lot of Eagles fans booed her because of that. But 100%, I've heard from so many people, I can't stand Taylor Swift because I'm sick of seeing her. As though that's her fault.
Why is that bad, though? Listen, I got to call you out on this. Because this is women broke this, okay? Because as you stated, you are a mom. Yeah. You have authoritative control. When people misbehave, you can force them to do things. You know what the rest of the world does? We have to market our way. We can get told yes, and we can get told no. So you basically have to bring your argument in. And when somebody tells you no, you got to be able to take it. But the entitled white women influence in things is they don't like to be told no. So what if I'm like, hey, don't hate Taylor Swift? I'm like, fuck you, I'm going to hate Taylor Swift. You got to be able to deal with that and try harder to bring me into the Taylor Swift moment.
No.
And white women do not like to be told no.
I'm not saying anybody has to like Taylor Swift. And I'll even go so far as to say if you were booing because you're a diehard Eagles fan, or whatever. It happened to be about the team and they were an opposite fan, so you booed. I'll even give you that. But the people that are like, I'm booing because I'm just sick of them. I see them everywhere.
Right. So if you don't want me to get sick of you, don't do things that make me sick of you. That's your responsibility. I don't have to go along with it.
No. Yes. Did Taylor make the cameras pan on her all those different football games?
Here's what she did. She used her sexuality and her good looks and her star power to train the cameras on you. Oh, all of a sudden, the camera's training on you. All of a sudden, you don't like what they're bringing to you. Oh, cry me a freaking river. Wait a minute. You made a life out of the camera training at you. It just so happens you don't like the attentions being driven to you at this moment. But you liked it when they were cheering for you.
First of all, we're not talking about whether or not Taylor Swift likes the attention or doesn't like the attention.
But she made a career out of it.
Right. I'm not talking about Taylor Swift's feelings on the matter.
Okay.
I'm talking about the hypocrisy of, or I guess not even the hypocrisy, this whole idea of like, something's really cool now and we're into this and we like it, whatever it is, Taylor Swift, anything. Oh, this is so great. And then after a while you're like, oh, I'm so sick of it. Now it's stupid. Now it's dumb.
Let's remove Taylor Swift from it and make it about something that doesn't have a cult following like white women tend to do. Let's talk about...
And I'm not even a Swiftie.
Let's talk about Pepsi. Okay. So you like Pepsi, they present something to you, the end product is great, you have an association with it, and you like it. But Pepsi overplays its hand with you, right? They do something that you're like, well, fuck Pepsi. You should be able to hate Pepsi because they took the thing that made you like them, and you no longer like them anymore. So you're like, I'm a Coke girl now. I have the ability to break up with you because you don't have control over me. And if you didn't take the position seriously that you had me and now you don't, seriously, then that's your problem, not mine. I'm a consumer. Like, I will go to the thing that rewards me, and I'm not going to, through pain, be able to support Pepsi if you basically didn't know what you had when you had it.
Okay, you liked Pepsi.
Yes.
You were a diehard Pepsi fan for years. You were like, I am going to drink it at every party. Yep. I'm going to tell my friends to drink Pepsi.
Because it's great.
Yeah, because it's great.
Yep.
And then let's say after 5, 10, 15 years, you're like, man, I'm really sick of Pepsi.
Yep.
They didn't change anything. They didn't do anything.
But they did.
Pepsi stayed the same.
But they did. If I changed.
You got sick of it.
I changed, right? And what I needed now. I changed.
Yeah.
Because I'm the consumer and I call the freaking shots.
Yep.
I'm allowed to break up with Pepsi for any reason. It could
be it's not
color the can.
Pepsi's fault. Pepsi didn't change.
What do you mean Pepsi's fault?
Pepsi didn't do anything.
Pepsi didn't call me and say, what are your needs? And they didn't change. So I'm free to break up with Pepsi and go anywhere else. If I'm going to go to Boobly, right? Basically, a can of caffeinated water that has boobs on the cage. Boobly.
Isn't it bubbly?
No, it's boobly. And I am free to break up with Pepsi. And Pepsi can wonder later on, like, where did I go wrong? Like, did I not serve Joe well? And did I not provide the TNA that he was after? And did I not give him the caffeine that he was so desiring? Mm-hmm. And when I break up, it then allows him to then reassess themselves, and say, do I want to cater to Joe? Or do I not want to cater to Joe?
Okay, so what is it in your rationale that makes you either, instead of saying, you know what, Pepsi, this is getting kind of stale with me. I need to liven things up.
Yes.
I want some variety. Versus, screw Pepsi. I hate Pepsi. I'm so sick of Pepsi.
Yeah.
I loved them for 10 years, but for no reason I have this anger and resentment towards them.
For sure.
And that's Pepsi's fault.
Pepsi's fault for taking for granted the people and not finding out they want and delivering. So let's just say I all of a sudden develop a need for something more than you're giving, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to break up with you because I'm going to go pursue somebody who can provide me the thing that I'm after. Is that my fault? Not really. Everybody changes. They're fickle, like you said. And they can pursue things other than that. It's Pepsi if they want to keep selling to me, whether it's their obligation to feel out what my needs are. And if I change, then they have the ability to change things to cater to me, or they can move on and say, I'm cool with your caffeine addiction and whether or not I want to provide that, or it's cool that we break up and let's see other people.
Why would it be the other party's responsibility
It's not.
to try to feel you out
It's
and
not their
chase?
responsibility. If they're cool with the breakup, then they don't have any responsibility. If they're then mad because we break up because you wouldn't do butt play, right? then it's an amicable,
took a weird turn.
It's an amicable breakup. Like, I don't owe you anything and you don't owe me anything.
First of all, okay, let's use the analogy of it's a relationship. And you're like, hey, I've changed. I'm now interested in something.
Yes.
You're not giving
Butt
it
play,
to
of
me.
course.
Okay. Butt play.
Butt play.
If you never communicated that you were into that and you just break up, you're saying you didn't owe your partner anything? You didn't owe me?
Are we talking about an individual, like a relationship, or are we talking about a consumer brand?
I mean, we started with a consumer brand and
you gotta be
somehow
more
we got into a relationship.
So in a relationship, if I said, if you do this, then, I don't like that anymore, and I have these new pursuits, and you have the ability to say, okay, well, that's not me, and we break up, and it would be objectively...
There's a discussion that comes up. There's information that comes up.
But on a consumer brand, it's not.
It could be like, hey,
and
I'm into
telling you,
this.
Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are a consumer brand. They basically whore themselves to whomever pays their bills. So if they want to appeal to a group that pays their bills, they can, but then they can't be mad at the people that they alienate by not catering to those people. So it's not a cult. You don't have to be there. We can break up at any time. I can go Coke anytime I want, and you can not care, or you can care, and you can change your ways to appeal to me. So I don't go to Coke. It's up to you. And it's not my fault, nor is it your fault. It's just who you want to go after, who you want to pursue. And that's why I say, like, I blame women, because women are so used to being the pursued instead of the pursuing. They get butthurt.
I would not say that.
They get butthurt
oh my
when
gosh.
someone decides to change their way and not tell them about it.
Ask any woman that has ever been a 16, 17, 21-year-old girl that they don't actively pursue guys and chase guys and do things for guys. And put up with a lot of shit from guys until they realize, all right, I'm done trying to chase this
But
jerk.
they do it on the DL where they don't let anybody know what they're
don't.
They
They literally write songs about it.
No, they don't. They actively go after the mystery that everybody's trying to figure out. They're so complicated, right? And then they get butthurt when they're like, oh.
What do you mean they're complicated?
They're complicated.
If they're not getting something they want, is it not up to you to then pursue them and chase them and figure out what they want?
In a relationship,
or should they just tell you what they want?
In a relationship. So if I decided that I don't like rap anymore, I like rock and roll, right? Mm-hmm. And then so I start spending my money on rock and roll. Then they're supposed to go and say, oh, rock and roll got a boost in support. And what I was doing got minimized, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm either going to antagonize me, how dare you change your support to rock and roll, or go create some rock and roll music to then follow the support. Women are different, but the influence of women can't be understated. That sole entitlement of the pursuit of that, you get butthurt when somebody doesn't choose you.
That's not at all what this is about.
It is.
Listen.
Yes.
All right.
No,
we
can build a bridge right now. You can get a new understanding.
Maybe you get a new understanding.
World. Okay. All right. So let's change it. So a girl says, oh, I'm a 10, right? People will pay attention to me. I've got tits.
First of all,
ass.
Pause.
Yeah.
How often do you think a woman actually feels that way?
I'm using it as an example to illustrate
because it's not a good example.
It is
we'll
a good
circle back to that.
Okay, all right. You remember that.
We'll circle back. Okay.
I got tits, I got ass, and I'm going to use what I have to be able to get to the end that I'm after. I don't begrudge anybody for pursuing what it is. So let's just say girl's making $200 million a year for what she presents. 5 years down the road, some of the things that she was presenting no longer are palatable for the people who are willing to pay the money. So then it starts going down in value. So she's no longer making $200 million. She's making $20,000 for the same thing. Is it up to the consumer of what she presented, or is it up for the person doing the presenting that is most at risk? You invested in something, right? And it went south. Right. So who's responsible then for buying out of the product that are being presented?
I absolutely can agree and relate to the idea that if something was very marketable and prospering at one point, and then it started to decline.
Yes.
Hey, people aren't really buying this anymore. People aren't showing interest anymore. It's not that popular anymore. Totally natural and fine. There is a difference between this natural, I'm kind of over it and I'm moving away, and actively, aggressively being mean to that thing that you loved. It's like, listen, I'm just over it, or F you're awful.
One part of the emotion.
They weren't awful a year ago.
What about the fanaticism that is the equal counterpart to that criticism? You didn't criticize the fanatical worship that happened because of that thing. And if you didn't, if you're like, hold on, it's just okay. Why are you giving me things I don't deserve when it benefits you? But all of a sudden, it's like, why are you being mean to me all of a sudden when you don't like the thing? They're equal counterparts.
I think the hate and the anger is directed at the wrong entity.
Who?
For example, when Taylor Swift started showing up at the games and was getting all this attention on TV, people were joking that, football broke out at a Taylor Swift concert. I, too, could say I'm one of those people that are like, this is getting annoying. Can we watch the game and not her?
Right.
I'm not mad at her. I'm mad at the freaking people putting it on and doing that.
What if she took advantage of the fanatical things at the time? Should she not?
What if she didn't?
But she did. Use a different example if she didn't. You don't think she soaked up the limelight because she was getting something that was ill-deserved because of what she was presenting?
How is she soaking up the limelight? There's a camera on her. What's she going to do? Run away? Hide?
See, that's the worst. Because she took advantage of it when it was at benefit. And then we, as regular people, are basically saying the downside, which is equal to what she took advantage of, all of a sudden is my fault?
What?
She took advantage of the upside of things that weren't accurate.
How?
Did she take advantage of the limelight? Did she know a little about football? Was she super, talented on the musical scene? Did she have a lot of affinity from people who worshipped her?
I mean, she
advantage
already had that, hence why the attention was on her in the first place.
For sure. So if you benefited from the upside, you were also entitled to the downside. So if you got things you didn't deserve on the positive side, you get things that you don't deserve on the negative side. It's part of the mathematical equation.
And in no way you think there is any sort of responsibility or not responsibility.
No.
What's the word?
Had she denied the benefit from things she was ill-deserved, then yes.
In what way could she have denied anything?
Accepting only what is due. Only accepting. Was she due the attention because she was sitting in a press box in an NFL game when there was nothing about her that was notable for the football game? Did she deny that? Or did she live it up? Did she take advantage of it? Did she...
Well, one, I guess, to be completely honest, my answer should be I don't know. I don't know Taylor Swift, and I don't know what she did with it. But I don't
amazing
think she did.
That you have no insight on the thing when it's a benefit, but lots of insight when it's on the negative.
Already famous and attention grabbing and noticeable. That's why the NFL put attention on her.
Do you think there was anybody in the stands that had the same level of notability that didn't get attention at the same time? She benefited from it. She took the benefits from it at the time. So she is entitled to the downside of it on the other side because it's a mathematical equivalent.
So because she was famous,
Yes,
got attention through the NFL, continued to be famous.
All right, hold on. Let's use Donald Trump. Okay?
Okay.
Donald Trump was very unpopular during his first term. So he got media coverage because they were basically covering him for everything that they disliked about him. They got $4 billion worth of positive attention, right? So he took the positive attention from the media coverage, which garnered him a seat in the White House. But then on the other side of that, he also garnered negative attention. You don't think the positive attention that was undue is equivalent to the negative attention that he got on the other side? If you're going to take the positive, you have to take the negative.
There's one thing about taking it. There's no question
you took advantage of it, not just taking it, took advantage of it. You don't think he did something for the specific purpose of making the news so that people would pay attention to him in that segment that caused headlines to be written.
Him actively doing something for attention is different than someone who got the attention when they weren't actively doing anything for it.
I don't know how you know that. You don't think that she lived up the fact that she was getting attention from NFL fans.
She may have. I'm sure anybody would be like,
oblivious though. Like on the other side, the negative side, you're like fickle fans, right? But on the other side,
people
like,
fickle
she took advantage. Where's that coming from? She totally took advantage. She benefited from it.
You in no way think people are fickle and the public in general.
And that is a standard. Everybody is fickle for 1,000 different reasons. And if like, oh, people like to look at tits, let me put my tits out there and take advantage of that. And like, oh, my tits aren't great anymore. How dare you look at my tits?
I feel like you've got real beef with women. Personally.
This is an example that is bringing out the love to reap the benefit of being a woman and really critical of when the same kind of reward system isn't on the reward system side of things. If you play that game, if I pull out a sword, right, and I'm like, I've got a sword that slays. I cannot be mad at you when you pull out a sword and be like, how dare you equal the playing field and pull out a sword too. It's an equal to it. It's not like somebody pulled out a sword and somebody pulled out a gun. It is sword for sword. Oh, you got critical reception because of who you are, and then you got people got critical because of who you are. They are an equal.
They're an equal that still show how fickle and ridiculous the public is.
But that is a denial. The public is fickle.
Yes.
Okay, so if somebody likes chocolate, they're fickle. Sometimes they like chocolate and sometimes they're not like chocolate.
Yeah.
It's up to you as the person that is selling to the chocolate lovers whether or not you partake and you push your product when they like chocolate, but you can't be like completely shocked when somebody doesn't like your product.
Listen,
it's not their responsibility.
I'm not talking about them being shocked because someone doesn't like it. I'm talking about the constant bashing and fighting and arguing and bickering that even entails the point that someone can't move away from something they once liked and change their mind. No, they have to now move away and then actively fight back at it, throw shade at it, be mean towards it, even though you just loved it a year ago. You were singing its praises a year ago. But this culture we have now is screw any changes. Everything's got to be a fight. Everything's got to be attitude. Everything's got to be a you versus me mentality.
That is the standard. Like, that is not an anomaly.
Awful.
But you don't get to change that. Like, you've had a 5-year-old. Are they fickle? That is a human being who changes what they like depending on who is presenting the thing that they like. They're allowed to say that they don't like broccoli today, and then you get to manipulate them into broccoli, and then you don't get to be mad at them when somehow you took for granted that your systems to make them like broccoli don't work. They are fickle. All people are, and they need to be marketed to.
Hypocritical.
Yes,
is another part of this.
It is all people. Are you looking to change human nature?
Oh, I know that's going to be impossible.
So
I'm basically looking to point it out.
For what reason?
For this everybody shut up mentality.
That's fine, but you have changed nothing. It is
it's too big to change anything. I know that.
I know, but the thing is, as long as we have human beings, we know that the things we like and dislike we take for granted, and we have to be constantly marketed to in order to keep liking that thing. And people will overplay their hand and not know what they have and lose the thing that they had. And then you have to recenter yourself, and you as the consumer have to figure out, I just lost the thing that I love. So now Taylor Swift isn't making any records, and I really like their records, but because I didn't have my support, now I got to drill back into support so she'll make more records. And that is the relationship you have between things you want. You have the ability to like you, and we have the ability to break up with you. And if I want to be fickle with who I choose to be with versus break up with, that is my right, and that is your responsibility as the product purveyor, that if I don't like your tits and ass anymore, I can decide not to view them anymore. And you can't be mad at me because it's your responsibility to give me the product that I want and not the other way around.
Let's say somebody has been an avid fan of Unpopular Opinions.
Yes.
They watch all the time and they're like, Joe Danier's the greatest.
Yes.
And then some time goes by and they're like, I'm kind of over it. And then you're out in the parking lot one day and somebody comes up and just chucks their drink all over you. F you, Joe Danier. What was that for? Did I say something? Did I do? No, I'm just sick of you. You're just the same thing you've always been, and I used to love it, but I don't anymore. So F you.
Okay, so
would you not, even for a second, be like, dude, you couldn't have maybe calmly told me that?
All right,
you couldn't have maybe not been a dickhead to me?
All right, so let's do this. Let's just say somebody who really loved the show showed up here and gave me a gold bar and said, I so love you that I'm going to give you this gold bar. If I was consistent, I would say I'm ill-deserved of the gold bar because that is a celebration of something that is way above my pay grade. I can't take this, and I would admonish you for giving me something I didn't deserve.
What if you did think you deserved it? What if you're like, you're right, I do an amazing job. Thank you for the recognition.
Well, then the counter would be if someone's willing to throw a drink at me rather than lavish me from the gifts, that's a me problem, not a them problem. If I was willing to accept the gold bar, knowing that that is way more than I deserve, then I have to be willing to suffer the consequence of someone throwing a drink at me because it's the same emotional reaction.
But it's the same person that praised you and gave you the gold bar, and you're like, thank you for enjoying this. I appreciate it. I'll take this. And then they say, now I hate you and I'm going to throw a drink on you. In no way is it that person's responsibility to not be an a-hole. And you can say, no, I'm just not into it.
It was freaking equal.
Leaving. Maybe they take the gold bar back.
I willingly accepted the gold bar, right? Versus me saying, you know what? I don't really deserve this. I'm just a person doing a thing. And
but what if you think you did?
Then I have to be willing to take the drink at me because there's a person on the other side of that equation that feels exactly opposite. And I can't be like, stressed out about, or not stressed about the gold bar, but stressed about the drink being thrown at me. If they're equals.
Maybe this is where we are on different levels. Does it make sense to accept one after you've accepted the other? Sure. Does it make sense that if you're going to allow something to come your way in the positive, then don't be surprised if something comes from the negative. It's human nature. It happens. Yes. I think I'm calling people to be better.
And that's
be
fine.
Above this.
We agree on this because I wish people were better like that. But we are primitive species who are all the same, that through all of history have had reactions that are the same. And when we get the pearl clutching, when we start behaving like human beings behave and get totally surprised, like, gossip and lies and corruption and all of that, those are all primitive expressions that we either, when we were dealing with one another, are you a primitive species? You are a primitive species that behaves above board, right? So I know that, and I know there's a version of you that behaves below board. And I have to be able to accept you for on both sides of that mathematics, or else I'm just delusional. Where like, I like the Kelin when she's behaving above where her primitive self she should, but then I'm completely shocked when the primitive Kelin behaves below that. That's the difference. You just want to believe in the ideals that people are better than they actually are when they absolutely are not.
Well, yeah, it's not the belief that they are. It's the, I guess, desire for them to be. You know, like, because then it gets to this whole, well, but you did this, and so I did this. But I only did this because you did this. And it's like, when does someone become the better person? When do we stop this? When is it, you know, like I said, you can take a commercial about ending the hate and respecting everyone and fight about it. It's like, oh my God, you can't even hear the message without fighting about it, let alone actually put it in practice. That, I think, is my frustration, is, are we that doomed as a species on this earth that we can't even stop for a second to see what we're doing to each other?
We have been a doomed species from the beginning, and it's only because what we're talking about right now is truth, right? And if we don't know the truth of it, then we buy into these ideals that don't exist. So everything is marketing, everything.
Yeah.
Politics, things, consumerism, relationships, it's all marketing. So if all of a sudden you decide that you're no longer willing to market, so we start dating and you dress up and you care about your appearances, right? You buy me with your appearances and what you dress up. What happens if you start doing that or stop doing that?
Yeah.
Have you now reduced the marketing, and now the attraction that I have with you is minimized? And is it my fault because I bought in the marketing when it was at its peak, and I no longer buy into it when it's not at its peak? Is that my fault or your fault?
So that I see, because there was a standard, and then that standard changed or was lowered.
Right.
What if that standard stays the same?
But it never has.
You change.
It's only a certain amount of people that believe, like, for instance, hate. We'll use your example. Do you hate things?
Yeah.
Okay. Are other people allowed to hate things different than the things that you hate?
Yeah.
Okay. So will there be hate? So
Yes.
putting hate in the end zone and hate means something different than to you than it does to me. What if I want to end hate in different ways, but I want to keep hate in the ones that align with me? Then I got to convince you the things that I hate are more noble than the things that you hate. We have a difference of opinion, so who gets to win? We're individuals who decide things that are different than one another. So whose ideals get to win? None. Zero.
But this is sort of my point. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And what's frustrating, I think, to me is that people don't see that. They are in this right and wrong, true and false, binary sort of way of thinking, to where they don't even see that, like, what they will do is hypocritical because they just did what someone else did. You know, I always say, especially we talk about elections a lot and politics a lot, and you always hear, I literally read the same phrases coming from people I know or I see on Facebook that are conservative and people that are liberal. We're saying the exact same things, but accusing the other of doing it. And I'm like, do you not all hear yourselves that you all are literally buying into this idea and buying into these sources that are meant to divide us because they profit from it, and you're actually on the same page, but fighting each other still? Does that make sense?
Well, it does, but do you truly agree that everybody agrees was the same definition of the words that you're using? So you think that when you say end racism, in your mind, you know what that means, right? So yes, 90, 100, close to 100% of the people say racism's bad. But what if somebody who doesn't share your definition for what racism is says white people have X, right? Which is definitionally racist, right? Now, all of a sudden, can you stay consistent with your admonishment for racism, or is this racism okay? And is this racism tolerated? I would be great if we did a rule set and everybody knew the definitions and everybody stuck to it. It's not the case. And it's having an authority that is in control of what definitions means that then I'm taken out of the equation. I'm allowed to think that XYZ is appealing to me and XYZ I don't like anymore, right? And you're not in control of me. So if I think that hate and racism and any of the other buzzwords that we use media-wise are different than yours, like, who are you to say and judge what I feel as being wrong or right? We might be talking the same language, but meaning completely the different thing.
Right.
So what is equality?
This is exhausting.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why marketing is so important. We use Pepsi, Coke, and these things to sort of illustrate that this is not a cut and dry thing. Yeah. You can't say Pepsi is the best without taking people who think, what is she freaking on? Like, Coke is the absolute best. Like, she's got a skewed version of reality, and I hate her because of her skew.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like you said, I can't remember how you phrased it. The skewed reality thing. It would be so much more, I guess, might be more palatable to me if people saw something that they disagreed with and went, oh my gosh, clearly we are not on the same page here.
Yes.
Clearly we're looking at this a different way. That's the grown-up way. The children, though, will say, what did you just say? You're so stupid. You're delusional. You're wrong. You're a jerk. You're a whatever name calling 100%. They want to insert. And that's what kills me.
So what's the principle that we're digging for? Is it objectivity, where there is a agreed upon thing? So let's just say we had a data point and we disagreed on that. Whose responsibility is it to find compromise between these two data points? So, for instance, if we'll take politics because it's the easiest one to do. So let's just say that the judicial system is supposed to be an objective source, right? They just look at truth, and all of a sudden they're no longer looking at truth. So let's take Trump and let's make him a felon. Let's take the Department of Education and make them expendable. Well, depending on which one of those things you like, you're going to support and criticize the judicial system depending on which way they came down on it. Mm-hmm. If it benefits you, then you support it. And if it doesn't benefit you. Now, objective would mean that you have a rule set that you don't care what the outcome is. The principle is what's important to you. Was it freaking truth? All right. So if we say racism is blindly looking at and making no judgments based on the race or ethnicity of any person. Mm-hmm. So the minute that anybody makes a judgment based on race or ethnicity, that's bad. And when they make a judgment or race on ethnicity, that's good, right? Or they don't. Mm-hmm. All right. But what happens when they're like blonde girls, right, who are named Kelin, get a benefit? Now you're like, the underlying principle is that I can't take blonde girls named Kelin and give them an advantage, but I freaking benefit from that. So should I support this one? You would be like, I don't support this one because it is freaking Kelinist, right? Mm-hmm. You're taking non-Kelin people and giving them a disadvantage, even though I benefit from this. You come in with that gold bar and I'm saying, get the fuck out of here. I believe so much that I'm only going to take things that are worthwhile to me, and I'm going to deny anything that is unjust to me. That would be, if everybody played from that goal, an adopted set of principles, we all agree with the same rule set, then the idealist utopia world of version of this would absolutely work. You are using utopia as something you wish existed, and I'm telling you, You got to market yourself. We are not a utopia. We're a bunch of failed people that have nothing but subjective behaviors, and we're looking out for self-interest. Everybody's going to be selfish, and they're going to take the person that is them and give them an advantage, and so everybody who is not them and give them disadvantage. That's the real freaking reality. How do you make that better, right? You have to then market to the people who are not that and convince them, hey, I know you're hungry. Stealing's wrong. That bread that you're taking is not justified principle. You don't take the bread. We figure out a different way. But as the minute that you're allowed to say, I had a principle of non-theft, but I then gave someone a permission to break one of my principles because they were on my team, all of a sudden you've taken your idealistic thing, and when it was easy, you supported it, and was hard, you didn't do it. And that's the contradiction. We cannot get all people on the same level of principle. Therefore, we are a failed society.
Oh, yeah, because too many big organizations...
You haven't drank anything, by the way.
I know. I'm waiting.
Dude, I am not your host. You are equal host.
Yes, you are.
You pick...
I don't know what this stuff is.
You pick the flavor of poison, and you pour your own drink.
I don't know what the flavors are. We're just doing this one because I've heard of it.
Okay, do it.
Anywho.
It's not a twist off. You just pull it.
That's what she said.
I love you so much.
I didn't mean to do that, so put some of this in yours. It came out fast.
Dude.
That's what she said. Can't help it.
I gotta save you from yourself because that
Thank you.
is talking about the multiverse.
That would have killed me.
That
would have killed me. I didnn't mean to do that much. Thank you for
That's still a lot, but I'm going to
out.
give you... That'll get you through at least 6 o'clock.
Before I would have finished that last one, I probably would have fallen out of my chair.
All right, go ahead.
What was I? Oh, I was saying that the whole idea, this whole divisive idea, is too beneficial to bigger organizations, that we'll never have the whole, let's market this idea of being a good person and being understanding and working together, because the divisive nature is too big.
But you don't defeat that. That will always be. Like you're in an entitled spot where the divisive nature of people doesn't assault you on a regular basis. What if there was a truly divisive nature that every day you got to live that divisive nature out? You'd feel differently. Because of your experiences, you're like, oh, like this level is my reality, and everybody below that needs to come up to my reality because it's pretty good up here. That's an entitled position. Just like Taylor Swift, that everybody pays attention to them. They're not complaining about the lack of cameras. They're complaining about the cameras that focus in on them, and then they have repercussions based on those cameras. Well, you took the camera when it was good, but you did not take the camera when it was bad. They're equal as far as I'm concerned. So what if you drove around every day, and every day you got pulled over because you were black? What would that be like? What would that reality be like? You'd have a different,
awful.
You'd have a different perspective. And so like, what would your immediate needs be? You'd be like, hey, let's be objective, where people aren't being pulled over based on their black, or they're short, or they're blonde, or they're redhead, or any other immutable characteristics that are totally out of their control, and they feel like they're being slighted because of something they didn't ask for. The people that do things that they ask for, those are the people I condemn because they knew what they were getting into mathematically. What about the people who didn't ask for it?
So here's this example is going to seem trivial because you had an example that was worse.
Go ahead.
Now this is going to make me sound like an entitled white girl. But I remember years and years ago when I was first getting into radio, quite often I would show up somewhere. Let's say we were doing a radio remote. I was the DJ. They called it the talent at the time that would show up to do this. Do you know how many times I was asked, oh, are you an intern? Oh, you must be the intern. And I was like, I'm your talent. I'm the person doing this. Oh, you are? Because I was a young girl. everybody just assumes some big guy personality was walking in here. They see a young female and instantly, whether it's radio or any career I've had, I'm either the intern, I'm the secretary, I must be the helper. I am never assumed to be the person who's in any position of power or spotlight because I'm a girl. Now, because I continue to do those jobs, am I then, well, I'm in this position, I'm in radio, I'm in this other job, so I guess I got to take that? I guess because I continue to go and put myself in these situations, then I should also take that crap? Or when is it up to people to be like, hey, when you see a female in a position, maybe don't assume you know what her position is. Maybe just ask or let her say that right off the bat. Like,
so do you think that story is unique, or do you think everybody is judged by an innate characteristic?
I'm sure.
Okay, so human beings, they categorize and put people in a box, and they make jumps at conclusions without proper information, right?
Right.
So I was a 19-year-old CEO of a company, and I'd go to a customer, and I was this young kid coming in, and I was sorted into the box where I was an employee of the company that I owned, right? The judgment would be that the person's making a jump without proper information. It's my responsibility then to say, no, I own the frickin' company. So then I properly tell the person. Now, is it their job if I don't say that thing, like I own the company and I am the smartest person that will ever walk into your office? Is it their job without proper information to be able to sort me correctly? Or if I leave it in the mysterious standpoint, can they treat me like I'm just an employee? So the way that people treated me when I was young and up and coming entrepreneur was so much information about how people would treat my future employees and how they would mistreat them, how they would be degrading, how they'd be condescending, right? Mm-hmm. So the principle shouldn't be whether or not you're a female and you must be the intern, or the black person, so you must be the XYZ, or you're the young kid, so you must be just the hired help. These are categories that are being mathematically concluded no matter who you're in front of. Are they the bad people, or am I? Should I have been more bold and say I'm the owner of the company and F you, I'm in control? Or
should they have treated you the same whether you were the CEO or the employee?
But that's not how things work, because that's not how you work. If the person behind the criticism doesn't behave that way, do you think that you've ever minimized somebody based on what limited information you had and you put them in a category? Yeah. Everybody has. That is human nature.
Right. And I mean, I don't think in any way me or anyone else who points this out is saying, wow, you all suck, you should be like me. It's, I do it too. We all do it. So maybe we should all talk about this. Maybe we should all put a spotlight on this and look at what we're doing in order to see if we can start.
But whose responsibility that? Like, that is not.
Everyone.
No, it is not.
Everyone.
No. In a white mom's vision, right?
You're judging me because I'm a white mom.
White mom. You're the authority, and you can take the misbehaving people that are subordinate to you and just correct behaviors. What if you don't have the control over the misbehaviors and you have to market to the misbehaviors and bring out the best in the people? You don't have the authority position.
Lead through your actions.
Lead through your actions, your messaging, aka marketing. You get misbehaving people to, on purpose, come to an end because of the messaging that you had. That is your job, not their job is not to follow you. So you can't condemn the people that you have yet to convince to do something. You have to take the responsibility to do better convincing so they choose you. So
that's what I think we do here, Joe. That's what I think our show is.
What's that?
This is our marketing to convince people to do better.
Oh, I love it. Nothing more. Like, honestly, like you and I are such honest people, and we come from a noble perspective. I hate when I get hung up on the people who won't listen, rather than the people who are listening and just need more motivation to carry the message to other people.
Yeah.
So if we want people to be non-racist, right? We do not like racism. Why? Because it's freaking stupid. We don't like sexism because we think it's stupid. Well, we have to carry the judging other people consistently through all of our decision making. So if we model that and say, when's the last time you made a racist decision?
Are you asking me? Oh gosh, I probably prejudged, I'm sure.
Okay, so my kid didn't even know.
I'm sure.
My kid didn't even know what racism was till he was probably 13 years old, and he got what racism was from a person, and it blew his mind. Because we basically lived our lives every single day where racism didn't exist. People were just people. We didn't point out what their skin color was. We did not even pay any attention whatsoever to that other people were of different stripes than any other person. Right? And to me, objectively, that's the way that one should be. Are people like that? Do black people judge white people? Do I judge people of a different gender? Like, I don't in my daily life. We pointed out for...
I was like, wait a minute.
We pointed out for the sake of examples as an objective view of other people. Do I think black people are racist? Do I think white people are racist? Do I think feminists are using, sexuality and sort of like... I don't even know what to call it. Like, what is the word when you take...
using your...
So if you do that,
Yeah.
that is the expression of using something that you, in one element, you would take exception to, and other element that you would permission. So do we want women to do great things? Yes. Right? So if you take the slant where women should have an advantage, then you can't complain when men have the opposite side of that, because you took a side in that. So if I'm a Browns fan and somebody's a Steelers fan, are they a jerk because they're not on my team? Or we're like, we just like football and all people that participate are winners. And then it can be consistent based on like, oh, like you disagreed with me on the marketing of my team. My team's at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
You can't hold that more accountable.
It's just the whole, like we've said, it's the desire to want people to recognize what they're doing. Recently this morning, I saw a good example. Back when Elon Musk did the salute, and everybody was like, did he do a Nazi salute? And oh my gosh, when really other people said, no, he's saying, my heart goes out to you. This is not an uncommon thing. Last night, they were announcing, was it a football player or somebody went like that? And everyone's like, wait! Where's the outcry?
All right. So hold on.
It's always that one for another.
You're getting hung up on the math of, does Elon Musk benefit from doing things publicly that are outlandish to the benefit side, and he accepts that positive benefit? So when he does something on the negative side, should it not be an equal to what he Okay, so Elon Musk, smart dude, has a public persona, completely awkward, right? So his awkwardness garners him positive attention. Does he accept the positive attention and he's not basically outraged by the positive attention he gets? So,
as far as we know.
He doesn't, right? Yeah. He accepts it because it's positive capital in the side of Elon Musk's bank account for having 200 million subscribers on X. So when somebody takes a shot at him that doesn't like him, if he accepted X, he's got to accept Y. It's part of the freaking math. So you're a public figure. You run for mayor of Youngstown. Kelin, I've lived for you. 100%. All right?
Thank you.
So now you trot your daughter on stage and say, look at my daughter. She's awesome. She's beautiful. She's smart. Right? Yeah. You trotted her out there and you gain political capital because you trotted your daughter out there. Right?
Yeah.
Did you like it? It was great. It felt good. It helped your campaign. Everything's good. But then somebody said, your daughter's ugly and she's stupid and she's terrible for your campaign.
Now I got to hit somebody.
Now it is equal. So if you said, daughters are off limits, I'm going to use any of my family, none of the other emotional elements are going to be entered in. It's going to be about me and what I believe in, and that's it. You're fair game. Nobody else is. But the minute that you introduce a benefit that you welcome, you also have to take the other side of it, where's the criticism from people who just don't like you. You got to be able to take them both. The minute that you pull the Chelsea Clinton lever, you take the Chelsea Clinton lever, and nobody's an asshole.
Here's an example, probably to your point.
Yeah.
We were talking about, I can't stand if someone wants to like prejudge the fact that I'm a girl, I'm XYZ. Years ago, my husband and I were shopping for a new TV, and we were in a store. And it was a store that they actually, I don't even think they're around here. Do you ever go to an H.H. Gregg?
Yeah.
Okay.
I sure have.
So you can actually haggle there, the pricing and everything. We were already familiar with this. We already knew what we could get the TV for, but we didn't want to act like we know. And so we used the stereotype of the guy that wants a TV and the nagging wife that's unsure.
Yes.
I wanted it too. I knew we're leaving that store with a TV. We're both going to buy it. But let's haggle and use the stereotype. And we did this whole thing with this sales guy of him like, but honey, you see it has this and it's got this. And I was like, I don't know. That's a lot of money. We don't really need it right now. And it was all an act. And he's like, well, what about this? And I finally said, look, if you could get it down to like whatever the price was, this was years ago, I don't remember. If you can get it to like that, then all right, then I'm in. Oh, this, I was like, you make it that, we'll leave right now with this TV. And so they did. So you would say then that was me using what I know is this whole prejudgment or whatever towards women, this whole stereotypical role. I used it in my favor.
It's marketing. Like when it comes down to it, you have the human element of something that is known, and then you have what you're willing to do to bring advantage to your side. And those are the only two elements. And if you're honest about what you did and why you did it. So if you went to buy a car and the person said, this is a $30,000 car, my manager will not let me come back from $30,000. You show your tits and he comes down to 25. You marketed to him to get an advantage, right? And so you're like, oh, there's a benefit. So one day when feminism and tits work against you, where now you pay $5,000 more because you're a woman, that was math that you subscribed to on the onset of reality, not necessarily like, well, I like this one, but I dislike this one, so I'm going to take a different approach on it. Where if you had like a justice is blind thing, justice isn't going to give you advantage and justice isn't going to give you disadvantage. Which one would you celebrate and which one would you suffer outrage over? What happens if your case you were not allowed to argue for? So your history and the things you had to go through and the toils and your sob story paid no attention. You'd be like, that's a huge disadvantage. I can't tell my story. I can't market myself to the end. Right? Mm-hmm. It saves you from the other side of things where you are then prejudged by your story. She lives in a nice house. She has a nice family. She's definitely at an advantage. So she's not going to get the benefits of the sob story because somebody else is more worthy. So that's really like you can't control the human nature side of things. And you can't point to it as it's the reason why it's getting in your way. People are going to choose Coke or Pepsi, and it's your responsibility to market yourself either advantageously, where you use the husband and wife buy a TV deal, you took advantage of it, versus this girl who walked in is going to buy a TV and she's blonde, she must not know what she wants, so you're going to pay $5,000 above where the TV actually costs. They're both the same metrics. You can't deny the advantage while also denying the repercussions. You have to say, I want TV buying to be blind. I don't want there to be a conversation, a fight between spouses. I don't want anything to come into play. I want the TV to be the price no matter who buys it. And I want the person selling the TV to be blind to who's doing it. And I just want to get the fair market value. You lose on the marketing side because you know that would have worked and got you a better deal. And you were able to push off the disadvantage to know that it's completely blind to no matter what. So the couple that went in there that did not have the choreography that you had got the same rate as you. They didn't try as hard. They didn't work as deep. They didn't market as well. And they got the same value. And you got to be okay with that, right? Because it was completely objective. And your motives for marketing were kept out of the equation. So either we become a society of really good marketers where the good marketers get all the advantage and the bad marketers get all the disadvantage, or we get the blind society where marketing's not in play and everybody just gets an equal outcome. No matter what.
Yeah, like here's the best deal. This is what we offer to everyone.
Yeah.
No games played.
No.
Just that's the best deal you're going to get on this TV.
Oh, you mean the girl that showed her tits got the same price as the 5'4", soy boy that came up?
Yeah.
That's fairness.
Yes. In that instance, I don't think somebody would. I think somebody would have walked in, seen that price, and been like, oh, this is the price of the TV? Yep. All right, I guess I got to pay it. If they didn't know that they had some wiggle room.
But the people that take advantage of their advantage are the ones causing the problem, not the people on the human side. You can't take the people who are acting in 100% human nature and then be outraged that they did the thing that you knew that they were going to do, and somehow you want them to behave differently because you don't have power and control over them.
And I think too, another thing that is just annoying to me.
You got to drink more.
Oh my Lord. I literally feel it warm the whole way down.
More. I'm afraid
the more I drink, the less sense I will make. Somebody pointed out that they think one of the reasons Taylor Swift was booed is her support for Kamala Harris. That shit annoys me too. Did I vote for Kamala? No. Do I think Kamala was a good choice? No. But again, why are we as people such assholes that's how we treat people? That I think is this whole thing and the whole reason I think I'm so annoyed at all the bickering and the fighting on Facebook and the fighting over politics and the fighting over anything anybody says. Like, when do we finally become a species that is advanced enough, maybe, that is mature enough to be like, you have a different opinion than me, and I'll just leave that alone, rather than show my distaste. It's not even I don't agree with you. I'm not a fan. I'm not going to buy your albums. I'm not going to go to your show. I'm not going to whatever. No, it's I even so much as see you and I boo you and I talk hate against you.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
You are at the game, section 205, and you're sitting there. Taylor Swift comes on the Jumbotron, and the guy next to you boos, right? Mm-hmm. What is your reaction to somebody booing? Like, what is he entitled to? If the person next to you boos and he just does not like Taylor Swift, are you in charge of the reason that he boos? Like, what if he just doesn't like her? What if he was only booing because everybody else was booing? What is your control over seat 5 over seat 4?
Nothing. So,
okay. You wish that if somebody did something, they would be cheered?
No.
What do you want the reaction to be? He's on a Jumbotron. Do you want it to be silence? Do you want it to be cheers? Or do you want it to be boos?
Probably nothing. Probably
just nothing.
Like, you know that old saying, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all?
All right, so the cameraman pans to Taylor Swift, and the crowd is silent. Is she ever featured on the Jumbotron again?
Probably not.
No. Okay.
So that's one way to do it.
Okay.
If you don't want to
let's just say 40 times they panned to Taylor Swift and she was cheered. Were those 40 times appreciated and valued?
By her? Or just anyone?
No, you as the objective observer.
Uh-huh.
She's cheered. Would you stand to seat 5? I don't know what I said before. Seat 5, and the guy that cheered for Taylor Swift and gave him a high five and say, cheering for Taylor Swift, you're awesome.
Would I give him a high? I'd just be like, I would just say, oh, you must like Taylor Swift. I am indifferent to Taylor Swift. I would not.
No, I know that. You're not taking exception for the people who cheer for Taylor Swift. You're taking exception for the people who boo Taylor Swift. So obviously they're playing a different role in the Taylor Swift saga than the neutral and the positive.
My exception is to the people that cheered a year ago that now boo when she did nothing to change.
Can't do that.
I'm doing it.
No.
Here I sit doing it.
So you're saying that if I drank Pepsi last year, that I should still be on the bandwagon for Pepsi this year?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you drank Pepsi last year and sang its praises, and you then become over Pepsi and you're not into Pepsi anymore, fine. But where does the desire to now throw shade at Coke
That's your desire.
Hate Pepsi and hate them and be a jerk to the person you were just an ally with?
You would have. Like you're basically projecting your objectivity to another person. Like they should be. You don't have control over seat 5. Like they're allowed to fucking hate Taylor Swift yesterday and love Taylor or hate and vice versa.
Yes. I'm not saying nobody's not allowed to do this. Obviously, they have the right to do that. I want them to see the ridiculousness of it. Want them to see that what they do it back when someone does it to them.
You're going to market to them that they should cheer today. You want to take what you feel and give it to seat 5 and say, dude, we've got season tickets here. You were here yesterday, and I totally saw you cheering for Taylor Swift. Today, you're not cheering for Taylor Swift, and dude, you better cheer for Taylor Swift.
No. You don't have to cheer for Taylor Swift anymore. You don't have to cheer for Pepsi anymore.
Bring it home for me because I'm lost.
You can even say, last year I loved the Chiefs, and this year I'm rooting for the Eagles. Fine. But don't say, I love this thing, I love this thing, I love this thing, it's the best thing, and then turn around and be like...
He doesn't owe you the consistency of his opinion.
But the person you love or the thing you love owes you?
You love Taylor Swift, and you would cheer for Taylor Swift. Seat 5 does not care what you care about.
If you quit drinking Pepsi owes you something?
They have the option of winning me back. Taylor Swift has the option of winning seat 5 back. Seat 5 changed their mind, and they don't owe you or Taylor Swift or anybody else the ability to change their mind.
If you were a superstar and you were on the Jumbotron somewhere, and every time they showed your face, the crowd would go out and they would yell and cheer.
And I loved it. Like, roses
no.
would come
because
from
that's
the ceiling.
You saying she loves it and you don't know that. So we're only going to talk about facts. We're not assuming what someone's
advantage
thinking.
Of it. On the Jumbotron, having attention paid to her.
Listen, you are in the stands. People go wild and cheer for you, whether you care or not.
I love this.
No, maybe you're an introvert and you don't even like it.
Okay, so I'm
not the
frowning.
point.
Okay, all right, so I'm going to take
not the point.
Jumbotron frowning. Like,
Everyone
why the fuck are these people paying attention to me?
Doesn't matter how you feel about it.
Okay.
Everyone cheers when they see you. Then maybe some time goes by and the Jumbotron shows you again.
And I'm still frowning.
And it's kind of quiet.
Fuck these
and
people.
It's kind of quiet. And then maybe the Jumbotron shows you again and nobody says anything.
Okay.
Is that not a clear indication that people are over it?
Yes.
Okay. So there can still be a clear indication that people are over it without this whole new, now I'm going to just spew hate at you. Now I'm going to boo you.
Hold on.
Now the person that I had such admiration for, I'm now booing.
Who's booing? The people who have the right to decide that they have a new feeling about something?
There is a right to do anything. There is a right 100%. To have a different feeling about it. But at the very least, you better recognize the fact that you put them in that position. You put them on the Jumbotron, and you loved it when they were there. And now you have the nerve to be the two-face that now boos them for the same thing you put on them. I can't put you in the limelight, celebrate you in the limelight, and then say, I'm so sick of you being in the limelight. I hate you because I put you there. That's ridiculous.
Appealing to who? Me? Or the people who get to change their mind? Are they free to hate me?
The ridiculousness. They are free to do whatever they want. But when you put someone on a pedestal and then you hate them for being on the pedestal, who's the hypocrite there?
I love that people can change their mind because the merit of what they have to offer aligns with how they make changes. And maybe they don't make any kind of changes.
Listen, I can say, I don't appreciate people thinking I'm an...
Drink more, like you need more.
I'm an intern or a secretary.
Go ahead. Intern secretary.
I can hate being put in that viewpoint. At the same time, I used being a woman to get what I wanted in the instance of the TV. Did I hate it in one aspect and use it in another? Absolutely I did. And you know what I can do? I can point that out. What my problem is the people that can't see that. They can't see you just did this and then you did this. You don't see the hypocrisy in that, and you don't see what you're doing, and all you want to do is spew the hate and say other people are doing it when you're doing it too. That's what gets me. The closed-mindedness, the whole idea of I'm fine, but you do the same thing and you're wrong, or I'm going to name call you for doing exactly what I did.
Well, yeah, that when I invoke the overplay your hand thing, if blonde girls get on TV more than people who are non-blonde girls, you overplayed your hand. You used something that was immutable, and you got on TV.
All right.
So the people who did not get on TV, you don't think they're going to take criticism at someone?
If you say blonde girls get on TV more than non-blonde girls,
yes.
I want to get on TV, I go and dye my hair blonde.
Yes.
Is totally different than I happen to be a natural blonde, and here comes the TV camera. Did I do that?
Doesn't matter. You still benefited from it, no matter if you on purpose benefited from it or not.
So I naturally benefited from it. I didn't expect to, but I did.
Yes.
And now someone who says, yay, look at the blonde girl on TV. And I said, oh, thanks. I didn't even realize that was a thing. And then the camera comes back around a month later and they go, boo, blonde people. What? Like, I didn't do anything. It's you putting it on me.
Even if it was unintentional, if you benefited for something that was immutable, that you didn't do. All right? So, okay, I'm the floor sweeper.
I love all of our analogies
I'm the floor
examples.
Sweeper. Right?
Yeah.
And I put a mask on that makes me look like Rando, and I sweep the floors. And then I have my true face where I'm the CEO of the company. Mm-hmm. And the CEO gets offered opportunities that the masked version does not. Is it me, or is it the people who offered the opportunity?
The people who offered the opportunity.
They picked something that they wanted, and I played the part that they picked, and I got the benefit from whatever they picked. You're just illustrating that on the lower end, people pick things that are not consistent and not noble, right? And you picked on the upper end, people pick things that are not noble and not consistent. But we're almost like we're going to take the public and we're going to hold them accountable for a standard that just does not exist.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No way am I saying we should do this and it's going to be easy and adaptable. It's not.
So what are we referring to?
Like airing of my grievances.
Nuts and bolts. Go ahead.
I was going to give you another example of something I saw, just to get your take on it. Did you happen to watch the halftime show with Kendrick Lamar?
I did.
So somebody on Facebook I know wrote, "No diversity, what a shame." And somebody said, You're saying there's no diversity? Why? Now, the person who posted this was a white person. You're saying that because they didn't look like you? Because there was no white people? So there's no diversity? To which someone's like, listen, you want to say diversity? To me, diversity is all colors, all backgrounds, all whatever. So when you have one, it's not diversity. Because it's one. It's not diverse. This was the argument these two people got into. Where would you have fallen there?
Depends. My standpoint is, are we talking math? Where we're taking the diversity of a population and wants to make it a one-for-one with what reality is? So let's just say the diversity of the United States is 40%, 60%. So then a diversity hire would be like, let's make the representation 60%,
already feel like
40%.
You're going deeper than these two people did.
Well, I know. But it depends. That's what I'm saying. Like language actually matters.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where when we talk about like principle, stealing, does it mean something or does it not mean something? Right?
Yeah.
If you steal bread when you're hungry, is that stealing? Or you just steal things when you're not hungry, is that stealing? And that's the principle that is here. So diversity from a language standpoint means that it's a adequate representation.
Uh-huh.
So if commercials and movies and television shows and halftime shows is diversity, then there's a mathematician there finding out what is actual numbers and making it a true reflection of what is. Okay, so if somebody said, "Hey, the halftime show was diversity," let's make it absurd because I love that. So the NBA is diverse. Let's take an adequate representation, no merit whatsoever. Who cares about layups and 3-point and guarding and any of the
skill
stuff
and
that
ability,
matters, right? Mm-hmm. It's just a representation of equality. What would you see from an objective standpoint equality would look like? So if 5'4" white people make up 30%, then when you look on the field of play, there would be 5'4" white guys on the court, right? That would be true diversity because it's a reflection of what actually is. Now, if you look at Congress and 40% of the makeup of civilization from a white, black, red, whatever, you're like a mathematician saying, okay, well, the makeup is 60% white, 20% black, Indian, Asian, every other thing. Let's make sure that the representation in Congress is exactly that. So then you can say, okay, here's what the makeup was. Here's what the representation is. What's the comparison between the two? Do we have equality or do we not? And so that's why I say it matters what you think equality is. So let's just say 20 years from now, everything switches. 80% of the United States population is black. 20% of the population is white. Whites are the minority. And now we've got to say, what does it look like to have the white population represented in Congress, in a police force, in military, and all things else? Like, if we had an objective outlook, we can say, I know exactly what that looked like. It would be 20% white, 80% all other races, right? It'd be pretty easy to measure to see where we are, if we're on, if we're off, and whatever. But this isn't a conversation about the merits of the definition of terms. It's about the advocacy of the thing that's in the minority. So if white women, if transgender, if gay, if black, if Asian, if any one of them feels like they're in the minority, they're gunning for the advantage in something, not the disadvantage. So even if black people get pulled over more than white people. Okay? So how are you going to feel about that? If the black person has a fear that they're going to be pulled over for a traffic stop, or they're going to be involved in some kind of like law enforcement action if they're black, right? Is it going to be because they were singled out because of their race? Or is it going to be because they're part of the mathematics on how involved they are in criminal activities? Which are you interested in? Well, I'm going to say from a marketing standpoint, it's going to be whatever benefits you, right? If it means that 90% of black people are more interested in committing crimes, then they're not interested in whether or not they're 90% in the people that are put in jail, because that doesn't hit the narrative, right? We want it to be blind, but it's not freaking blind.
Yeah.
So every one of these objectives means that you get to defy the thing that doesn't give you benefit, and magnify the things where you do actually get the political, monetary, attention, whatever you deserve. You accept the benefit and you deny the downside. And that's why we went to tits and ass first, because that works best.
I still think somewhere in your life, a girl must have, or multiple women, really got to you.
No, this is
dive
one
deep into this.
This is one. Yeah, let's do it, because this is one of the instances where it's all a mathematical exchange, 100%.
All right. I am not a math person.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to go slow with this.
Okay. I'm in.
I'm more of an emotional feeling. You're a logical mathematic. Sometimes I'll hear things you say and I don't see the math to it. That's just not how my brain works. But I'm like, lots of examples about women. Women must have hurt him. What do you say about that?
It's not a personal experience. I don't take my own experiences and project them out to society. I look at examples in society and use the math on those examples.
Okay.
I celebrate women. Like, it's something that women have a true advantage in civilization. And I feel like women piss away their advantage and squander it based on the things that bring them benefit. It's a total setup job.
How so? Women squander their advantage.
Yes.
How?
Men pursue women. They have a biological advantage where men will do things that won't make sense completely to pursue women.
Okay.
Go ahead, say what you're thinking.
This is gonna make me sound like a jerk.
Go for it.
I don't think it's all men, all women. I think. All right, I'm just going to say the thing you're not supposed to say. I think attractiveness is absolutely a game changer.
Yeah.
I think when we generalize men, women, and anything that involves their interaction or somebody getting a leg up on the other, it's not all really. You know, like if it were some guy who's like, oh, I'm a figurehead of some company, and some woman that's like, ooh, I'm gaining status by canoodling with this figurehead, there's gonna be an attraction there. It's not like the figurehead just sees, in your words, tits and ass. Oh, that's female. So it's not really all. If you know what I mean. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's not really
all right.
All.
Distill it down. Like, you're doing societal. Let's talk like real, right? Mm-hmm. Two people and their interaction. Do men do things for women they would not do otherwise if they're attracted or pursuing a woman?
If they are attracted and pursuing.
Okay.
Yes.
So men can be controlled by aesthetics or actions of a woman, right? Principle?
To an extent.
Okay, so if I'm sitting at a conference table and somebody comes in that's totally unattractive, makes me a sales pitch, somebody walks in completely attractive and makes a sales pitch, Should I objectively look at each sales pitch on the merit of the sales pitch, or should I take into account the person that's doing the sales pitch?
Yes, but I'm not necessarily. I'm actually. Maybe I'm advocating for men here. It's not just a man thing.
Well, no, I'm taking it from...
attractiveness is the thing.
But I'm taking the fallibility of men and whether or not they will give in to a woman.
But I think a woman CEO would see a very good-looking man pitching her something and an unattractive man pitching something and lean towards... Same thing. Yes, I think the attractive level is...
When I say it's all marketing, it means that nobody is playing the noble role. Everybody is susceptible. So you have principle... that who cares who you are and how you benefit, the principal rules. And then you have the self-serving side of things, and whether or not you're a female CEO and you use whatever inspires you to make decisions, or you're a male CEO and you do whatever inspires you. I'm saying both are the same thing, and they're making decisions outside of a principle.
Yeah.
So if I come in and I've got terrible vocabulary, right? I'm not a good use of words.
I don't talk good.
And I make you a presentation. Are you allowed, as the person receiving my sales pitch, to judge me based on my command of the English language, or you're going to be able to make some prejudgments based on the lack of command of language means that I'm probably not as smart as the person that might come into my office next. Are you allowed to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you come in and you're busty and you're revealing and whatever, and the person interviewing you is going to be give you more stars.
I feel like pause.
Yeah.
Were you ever passed over for a job by
Never.
a girl that okay.
Never.
It's just this example comes up a lot.
This is not trauma. This is just a math discussion.
Because why is it that the woman who comes in is always like openly displaying her breasts and like
here's
maybe
why.
It's just a very conservatively dressed, attractive woman.
No, but on that level, like if you have it and it is a supreme advantage, why would you not use it? And I don't begrudge someone who would use it because it's 100% effective. So if CEOs are primarily men who are in their 50s and applicants are primarily women who are busty and can dress up for it, right? Mm-hmm. And they market themselves where they get chosen, I'm not begrudging that. It's just marketing. Almost like if you're hungry and I advertise a pizza and those two things match up, I'm not begrudging that. You are perfectly timed for the person that took the order versus the person that had the order, and you matched it up. Both are happy. The pizza seller and the pizza buyer are fucking happy, and I'm not going to begrudge happiness for anybody. So if the CEO that hires the busty blonde is happy, I'm not going to begrudge that. It's all the same thing to me.
Okay.
I use busty blonde like off the charts because it is 100% more effective than bald-headed 50-year-old 5'4" person that doesn't have the command of the English language. It's more sellable. It's a better product overall. Would I hire that dude versus the 6-foot, blonde hair, busty, speaks well, has merit, 100%? Which one sells you?
Busty, blonde hair, does not have command over the English language, doesn't present well. What did you say? Bald-headed, not tall.
That wins. But
very smart.
Just like
speaks eloquently.
Just like you're outraged over the consistency and principle, busty blonde that doesn't know anything gets the job. It was good marketing. Either way.
Do you think that's the norm? Busty blonde who presents as an idiot will get a job over short, bald, heavy, unattractive, very intelligent, speaks well, presents well?
What if mathematically it did? Would you have an objection to that?
It would make sense. I would get it.
Okay, so if the field reporters for the NFL are all busty, blonde, attractive people interviewing quarterbacks, in your mind, you're like, oh, that is the perfect person to interview a quarterback, someone who absolutely has a command of the game, actually, totally notable in NFL rounds. Or you're like, oh, no, that person was ultimately presentable in the perfect product for the person that's consuming this, that also feels that busty blonde, that asks the question and gets the response that I need. You can be sort of like dismayed over it and think, wow, we should take 5'4" bald guy who knows football really well that will absolutely be a flat line on the presentation side versus the other.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the type of job and what the position is definitely matters.
100%.
If you're somebody that's going to sort of be in the public eye, yeah, being attractive is going to vote well for you.
Let's take public eye out of it. If the CEO likes you and everything you present and they hire you, what does it matter that there were better candidates over you? You won in the marketing field of being able to take what you have, use it, and got a yes. What does it matter?
Likeability.
You would do that as a consumer if you can overrun the person selling you a TV and using everything at your disposal to get a freaking yes. It's the same thing. So if you use the principle over here, you have to almost permit the principle over here. It's the same freaking thing.
Likability is important. And people like to think that your knowledge and your skill set and your experience should be weighed heavily. And it maybe should. And I'm not saying those are unimportant. I think a lot of people don't realize how much likability is important.
For sure.
And I can remember, I went to YSU. I have a degree in communications. And for a little while, that was almost sort of a joke. And it was known as the easy major, or the major where if you're not doing well in something and you just want to graduate, well, then go to communications. It's a throwaway kind of thing. And I always sort of took exception to that because in my view, unless you're going for a specific concentration, something that requires a certain skill set and knowledge, communications to me was so broad that you could use it anywhere. And it was so based around presenting yourself and how you come across to people and how you interact with people. And I will argue that any day of the week that you could take someone who's extremely intelligent, who is very smart, who knows math, who knows numbers, who knows how to do things properly. But if they can't convey anything to someone, if they are not likable, if they are not somebody that you can trust or that you have this rapport with, what's the point? It doesn't matter what they know if they can't get into...
You just walked me into one of my favorite topics ever.
Oh, boy.
Okay. So should you be able to outperform someone who didn't have the vision to see beyond today? So, for instance, Nortel was my favorite. So I was an investor in Nortel.
What's Nortel?
They were a communications company split off from AT&T, and they were really hurting. Right. And so I drilled a bunch of money into Nortel. They were developing communication systems. And so when they were very unpopular, I was putting money into them, and I was putting money where I was getting huge value for my dollar. And then they advanced something or innovated something which made them become more valuable than they were before. So we'll use your communications degree, and we'll say, it was frowned upon. It was mocked. It was absolutely terrible, right?
It's an easy throwaway major.
You put your money into it. You became heavily specialized in communications. But then 5 years later, everybody was going after communication people. So everybody on today's timeline was like, shit, why didn't anybody tell me communications? And you're like, well, everybody's mocking us when we were actually investing into something that didn't make sense. But you fast forward 5 years, and all of a sudden I'm sought after because now my specialty is valuable. I know that it was once not valuable, and I know that it is valuable, and I know in the future it will not become valuable once again. Now, when will I get pissed off? Was I pissed off when I was paying the money to get communication and I was being berated for being Taylor Swift in the stands? Or am I the asshole when I'm taking advantage of something that I invested in? So you learn how to do makeup and you're presentable on television. So you did something that was like not real popular when you were doing it, but all of a sudden you're on screen, and everybody who was unwilling to do the thing when it was unpopular all of a sudden hates you for knowing how to do makeup for being on screen and being presentable and being, attractive on screen. So that's the thing. Like, if you need instant gratification, then the thing you're pursuing, there's people ahead of you, and you will never make it under the today's thing. But if you invest in a thing that's not popular right now, but you invest in it now, but then it becomes popular, right? And then there's a bunch of people that are critical of you because they didn't choose the same things as you. Now, all of a sudden, are you the asshole because now you're taking up the limelight on something that you invested in and took risks in and something that was unpopular? Are they the asshole because you're like, serve your time. Like, go back, practice, invest in something that doesn't make sense so you can be me on the next round of communications and Bitcoin and technology, on everything. You missed the boat because you're too impatient to wait for the thing you invest in to come around. Nortel was my example because everybody I was investing with thought I was the biggest fucking idiot for investing in Nortel. Everybody. Because it was a penny stock as far as they were concerned. They were investing in Netflix and Bank of America and things that had like a 6-month horizon. I was investing in something that had a two-year horizon. And I was investing at 20 cents on the dollar. They were investing on like 90 cents on the dollar. So when the payoff came, they won a little bit and I won a lot. Who was the asshole? The person that was more patient, willing to take more risks, do something that was unpopular, or the person who drilled in the thing that was easiest? All right, so the blonde-headed... blonde-headed best...
I don't know why you hate me, but okay.
Blonde-haired busty girl who went on the news, served 2 years, and was like, why doesn't anybody pay attention to me? Or the person who had the longer-term thing that invest heavier, took better risks, they won bigger. Who was better? I'm going to say... You made the best of what you had. They made the best of what they had. And there's no incongruence. There's no, you took the easy route. You use aesthetics, and I don't begrudge you for that. But it didn't, I could have told you that on day one. All right? Mm-hmm. Do you want to put emphasis on your mind and your ability or your aesthetics? Dude, your aesthetics are going to fade. And when they do, what are you going to do now? No worries, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not going to feel bad for you when they fade and no longer making as much money as you did once based on your aesthetics. That was a choice. It paid dividends on the short term and it lost in the long term. The Nortel guy who made nothing while you were living it up on the aesthetic side won on the long term. Good strategy. I don't begrudge either. Neither one should be equal. Neither one is good. Neither one is bad. It was just the angle that you took. Enjoy the spoils. I'm cool with either one.
I feel like we're kind of on the same page there.
We are.
Yeah, because I just hate when the people doing the whole, oh, you're taking the easy way out. You're taking communications. That's stupid. That's throwaway. Really? Okay. Well, I know that you have one skill. And that's a very teachable skill. And I could always be taught your skill, but you can't always know how to do this well. There's always this fight that's going on instead of people saying, that was good for you, this was good for me, we see things differently, and we can show respect to one another. But
if you took a spreadsheet and put all the benefits for being who you are and all the downsides, you're going to have different ones than me. So if I'm a black dude, right? Do I have things that work against me? For sure. Mm-hmm. Do I have benefits that benefit me? For sure. So if you take the column where you get things that you really don't deserve, it's not equal, like 5'4" guy who can't play basketball, like if you are enjoying a benefit that I'm not, right? Well, there's going to be a repercussion on the ledger that's saying you're enjoying a downside that I'm not. And it's so long that we can look at it and say, well, you were doing this and you were loving it, and you were doing this and hating it. Well, I was doing the opposite, right? I was not enjoying the thing you were because of an innate ability or an innate skin color or an innate athletic ability, right? You were enjoying that. Like, I was sitting at home watching SpongeBob at the time where you were fucking the cheerleader, right? And on the other side, like, let's just say I win the longer term goal where Nortel comes to fruition, your athletic career and your fucking the cheerleader is over, but now I got a bunch of money. Like, those things are equal. I invested in one thing, you invested in the other. Yours worked out to a certain level. Yours had detriments and downsides. Mine did too. Like, in the end game, you had free will. You could have absolutely watched SpongeBob with me. You could have absolutely invested in Nortel. You could have taken the cheerleader and said, no, man, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right? But for you to take the upside and, like, celebrate it, but the downside, somehow you're a victim of it, fuck you and everything that you experienced.
Yep. I used to say all the time, it was so funny. I used to watch Kathy Lee and Hoda. Then it became Hoda and Jenna Lee Hager, whatever. I always used to be like, that's what I want. I have a communications degree. That's what I enjoy. How do I manifest one day a job for me that is like, I want to talk and drink in the middle of the day?
You got
Guess
it.
what, bitches?
Winner! Winner, winner, chicken dinner. That's it?
That's all I got. I win.
So now let's just say we did a biography on any of those people that you mentioned and everything that they went through to be able to get to that point and the sacrifices they made and the real benefits and the real downsides. Would you take all the downsides and everything they had to go through to become that? Is sort of like the prize worthy of what you expect to have to go through to get that position?
What people are we talking about?
Well, you mentioned two of them, Hoda and whatever.
Oh. You're talking about that job.
Yeah, I do that, and I do that, and I do that as long as all of that stuff equals getting that job. Would you do it?
What they had to do? I don't know.
What if I told you that you had to sleep with your producers, you had to go on OnlyFans and bear the goods, and then get as much maximum exposure to the male representatives in your demographic, and then you would get that? Would you sell yourself to the things that maybe you don't agree with, but it gets you to the end where you can drink with Regis? Is that what you said?
It was Hoda and Kathy Lee.
Oh, they got rid of the guy completely?
This is different.
Dude,
this is different. This is different.
No, it was Regis and Kathy Lee. If you
Regis
got rid
and
of
Kathy Lee were one show. Hoda and Kathy Lee are a different show.
What happened to Regis?
That was a
Did
different show.
Did they replace him with another
didn't
patriarch?
Regis die?
But they got to replace him with another patriarch.
That was a show. Kathy Lee and Hoda are part of the Today Show. This was before I was like...
Dude, I don't know any of this shit at all.
Listen, I wanted to be a woman that got to talk about everyday events and drink while you do it. And at smaller scale. They were on a big... Like, for example, I remember many years ago, like, a friend of mine, somebody I worked with, we got in a conversation about Saturday Night Live. And he was saying... Oh, you'd be so good on Saturday Night Live. And I'd say, I'd love to be on Saturday Night Live. Sketch comedy, that would be awesome. It would be so fun. But here's the thing. I'm not a writer. I'm not a comedian. And I don't want to live in New York City. But if I can do it on a small scale somewhere, that'd be great. Well, I'm not going to sleep with a producer. I'm not going to whore myself out for a position. And again, I don't want to live in New York City.
You would do really good on OnlyFans, by the way. I have to mention that.
On OnlyFans?
OnlyFans, you'd make millions.
I don't want to get naked.
It doesn't matter. Like, you can do feet things. You can do all kinds of... Dude, like, I don't know why you won't compromise to make that...
OnlyFans. No, because you gotta do something naked.
Know. Today, I bet you that if you did feet things, you wouldn't make a lot. Early adopters to the feet pics would probably make good bank, but today, feet pics probably don't do well.
I don't have anything to offer OnlyFans. Like, I hear on OnlyFans to really kind of go places like, it's basically porn. I'm not doing that.
There is a consumer that is willing to pay money for a certain thing. So... bald-headed 5'4" guy with a short stack walks up and he just decides to do OnlyFans. I'm not doing well.
Are you on OnlyFans?
Like, am I a presenter? I am sure.
Is that what it's called to have an OnlyFans? I don't even know.
No, there's consumer side of OnlyFans where people are buying the subscriptions to that content. And there's a presenter side where the people who are like...
They're the ones on display.
On display.
Are you an OnlyFans presenter?
Presenter? I am not. But...
Are you a consumer?
I am not a consumer either. But... That's
exactly what a consumer would say. You're like, no, I'm not.
If I were to take what people buy, I am not a good participant as a display. We should do a test.
Me either.
Bullshit.
I'm not.
Dude.
Listen.
Dude.
Don't even get me started.
No. If I can take all of your inhibitions, feed you whiskey, feed you bourbon, and say anything I tell you to do, I can make you into an OnlyFans star. You would have to compromise a couple of your...
Listen, this is not me being overly critical. This is fact.
Usually when people say that, they're about to be overly critical.
This is fact.
Okay.
Factual information.
Yeah.
Somebody would take one look at what I have to offer and be like,
there's a midlife crisis guy right now that would pay $29.99 to see you
for a whole bunch of cellulite
for a month,
mom bod, and
for you just to like do a little bit. Like it wouldn't even have to be off the hook. It would be enough to get him through his
maybe
daily
like a little
grind.
shoulder action.
Dude, you do shoulder like you're.
I've heard of guys that are into shoulders.
You're $49 a month. Like you play your cards right. You let me manage you. Right? And we will take...
Are you my pimp?
25%. That's it. I will offer protection, right? I will make...
That came out wrong.
What?
Let me rephrase that.
Which part? The pimp part?
You're my bouncer?
I will totally be your bouncer for a 25% cut. Maybe 30. Depending how much... Are
you bouncer material, Joe?
5'4", bald guy, bad disposition. I'm a bouncer. In the digital era, like I can represent. Are you willing?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take it off the table. What are you willing to do to sacrifice your principles to make?
Why do we have to sacrifice principles?
You said you wanted to go on Saturday Night Live, and then you said maybe doing it on a smaller level. And I'm thinking smaller level. Like you can totally do. Like I can take you on to OnlyFans and have. I will do your writing, I will do your choreography, and you can tell jokes to middle-aged guys, right? They might be spanking it while you're telling jokes, but that's not my concern.
Here's my point.
$39.95.
Here's my point exactly. We're talking about men and women and people being perceived a certain way and putting on all these stereotypes. I said I would love to do Saturday Night Live on a smaller scale.
Yes.
That could have been TV locally. That could have been stage locally. That could have been like, why don't we find you somebody who's in film or TV or who's doing this and that and get you involved? No. You saw a female and said, OnlyFans, sexual internet predators.
Here's the deal. As your manager, I'm going to take you to the distribution network.
Terrible manager.
I'm going to take you to every distribution, every platform. And see what works. So I'm going to say, put you on stage and let you tell some jokes. I'm going to put you on the morning news and have you, whatever, like sketch comedy. I don't know what you want to do.
You don't even know. You just went straight to porn on OnlyFans.
Dude, I know where the demand is, and we'll just go after what you're willing to do. Like, what are you willing to do?
Not OnlyFans.
All right, let's reverse roles. You're my manager. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to put me on OnlyFans. Are you going to put me in realms that I'm going to have
Why do I want to put you on OnlyFans?
Why?
Why would I?
That's the goal, is for both of us to make a bunch of money. This is us.
That's not the goal.
What is the goal? What is the goal?
My goal is to do something I enjoy.
Even if you make no money?
Yes.
So if I put you on stage and you break even, you'll do that more than once.
Yep. I would like to make money.
Listen, I'm not being your manager, because if I'm collecting 30% of whatever you're capable of making, break even means that break even divided by 30% is shit.
Would I like to make money doing it? Yes, I would. But is it something I would do for little money? Yeah. If the goal is to make money and I'm going to go anywhere.
You're being too general. Like doing what making money? Telling jokes?
It would be like the sketch comedy thing.
So
Somebody else has jokes, and then you sort of act.
So there are comedians that come through the studio on a regular basis who tell jokes, and they do it for $0. They love telling jokes. So you would go on stage, sacrificing an hour of your time to entertain other people for $0.
It's probably not that important to me. I would do it if I got something from it.
So let's take the next thing. Okay. So we have to align it that you're compensated for the thing that you do, right? And the hierarchy of things that you can do are being entertaining, telling jokes, and then everything else. I'm going to name those things because I'm not going to be the villain in this conversation.
Too late.
So jokes are out because you'd be cool making $0 and nobody would represent you for a 0% split.
I wouldn't be cool. I would want to make money.
Doing
entertainment that doesn't involve getting naked.
No nakedness.
No nakedness.
Might have props involved. Might be some risque behaviors, but not nakedness. Are you in?
Depends on what it is.
Share your boundaries.
I don't know what it is. I'm going to have to say, hey, I'm making a movie, and it's a feature film, and I want you to be in it, and you have to do whatever.
You have to market this to me as your manager of something that if I'm collecting 30%, that I can see dollar signs.
Why do I have to market to my manager?
You don't. You do not have to.
Yeah.
And then I could decide that I'm not your manager.
Yeah.
I am going to go over here, and then you are going to be exactly where you are right now.
I'd be like, you're my manager. You want to make money from whatever it is I do.
I'm your manager so long that you're a good investment. Like I'm a manager of Nortel stock so long that I can see something in the future that will make a bunch of money.
Yeah, I don't even know what Nortel is.
Nortel's a communications company.
Like AT&T?
Yes, they bought them.
I didn't know that. So you're doing a bang-up job there.
If somebody buys you, like I will be an investor. But because buying people are illegal, like I'm not an investor in Kelin. So you got to tell me what you're going to do, not who you're going to be bought by.
What I'm going to do, not who I'm going to do.
Ooh, like I didn't even go there.
Yeah.
But if that's an option, we can make that work.
Listen.
Yes.
I want to get paid.
Yes.
To entertain people.
Yes.
In a way that I find fun.
Yes. Finding a demand.
That could be all kinds of things. That does not involve taking clothes off.
I mean, look at what's being modeled out there. There are a ton of people. Everything from people who are doing it and hope to do it and doing it for free. People who are doing it and leveraging other abilities to people who are like, oh, you're a sideline reporter. You must have something that other people don't, and everything in between. It's finding what you're willing to compromise and what you're willing to trade and what value you're able to give in each one of those spectrums. So as the broker of all things Kelin, you got to sell me on what you're going to do. Like you got easy and you got hard. And so the merit of what you can do when it's on the hard spectrum, I got to believe in that too. So you got to sell me on it just like Pepsi would sell me on drinking their beverage during the Super Bowl commercial that they paid $30 million for.
What if I don't know?
Then that's fine.
I'm new to the game. I don't know.
There is a beverage company right now that didn't advertise that I don't know anything about, and that's the same predicament. So there's a company called Fubbly, right? Mm-hmm. And right now, I don't know about them. And I would probably drink them if I knew something about them, but it's up to them to market themselves so I hear and find out about them versus being outraged that somehow I don't know about them already.
But isn't it your job to sort of make?
No, not as a consumer. Consumer's job is maybe the broker. I would make suggestions about what would be easy.
Yeah, like here's what I see. Here's the angle I want to play with you kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. What you'd be willing to do in order to garner the investment that I would make in you. That's 100%. The same marketing that Pepsi would do.
Yeah.
$30 million means that more than $30 million worth of people are going to buy my product, so it's a worthwhile investment.
But I'll tell you one thing. If we come up with something that is just gold, it's an amazing product. People are loving it. and we keep it that way, and in a year people are talking shit about us and hating us, I'm going to be mad at them.
Why? Not us. No, you accepted the $30 million on the receiving side. You have to be willing to take the $30 million worth of criticisms on the other side. Take the
internet hate while I'm taking in my money.
How the fuck did we get on this topic? Like, I don't even know.
I don't know how we get anywhere with these shows. It just happens.
Started with Super Bowl and Taylor Swift, and it came out with OnlyFans and 5'4" people.
People bickering like children, and now OnlyFans is a thing.
It's just the reality. And I think culturally, we don't want to deal with the reality of what is. We want to like buy stock in something that isn't and be completely outraged when it doesn't come to fruition. And it's sad, but people like me who could tell you that if you do a thing, like if you set $100 bills up on a table, I totally agree with that's a noble cause. And when people come along and steal it that don't need that money, I can tell you about it before it's even happened, that that's a bad pursuit. Like, that is the inevitability, because I know people. Table, free money, first group, people that are marketed to will take it, and they probably got a high percentage of people who need it got it. But the longer it lasts, that the bad people come in and just take your money, and you're like, oh, like, you're a dude that has a Corvette. You pulled up in your Corvette, you took my money. Now that feels worse than someone who absolutely needed it. And that is human beings.
Is there ever anything you think ever that could possibly exist to change that around, to make that not the norm anymore?
Human nature. Like, you cannot defy human nature. It really is. Like, if you have a fallible human, audience, and you take note of what everybody is in that audience, and when you come across something you don't like, that you don't have a way of getting rid of them out of your audience, then that's just the way it's going to be. So how do you take opportunists out of the equation? Well, you'd have to take yourself out of the equation because you're an opportunist. So what you do, right, you can't begrudge somebody else from doing. If you look out for your best interest, they're going to look out for their best interest. What are you going to do? Hold them accountable and say, well, since your principles aren't noble, then I'm going to begrudge you out of the opportunist side that I'm doing and I did yesterday? It doesn't work. It's a contradiction.
Yeah, people would have to no longer ever be a hypocrite, and that's pretty impossible.
Yeah, so like you take religion and the theology side of things. The goal with theology wasn't to take everybody and make them godly, right? It was to take a portion of them and giving them reasons to stay godly, right? You take that out of the equation and everybody's non-godly. And so like when you look at ungodly stuff and you're like, how did that happen? I mean, come on. That's what you chose. Like,
yeah. Only everybody could be like us.
What I love about us is our ability to go through these topics and be completely objective about them, no matter if it benefits us or not. We talk about these things in a light of truth. And even if it's unpopular to people hearing them, right, that it's still truth. And you can take shots at me and you can take shots at you because you don't like what we're saying, but you can't undermine. Like, I literally have, most of these topics I want to look at as in, I want to take 5 people out there in the audience and just make them think differently about it. Even though 95% of the people don't feel that way and they hate me because I took that stance, those 5 people are worth it to me.
I agree.